You wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone. It's not because you need to, it's because you're afraid of what comes when there's nothing between you and your thoughts. Loud music in the car, TV on, even when you're not watching. The podcast, the notification, the empty conversation, anything works except silence, because in silence you feel, and feeling hurts. It hurts to remember. It hurts to face it. It hurts to realize you've been running so long you forgot what you're running from. You call it loving noise. But it's not about loving, it's about surviving. Because if you stop, even for 5 minutes, something inside you screams. A question you don't want to answer, a pain you don't want to feel, a truth you don't want to face. You fill every second, every space, every pause, as if the emptiness would swallow you whole. And maybe that's what you fear most, discovering that without the noise, there's an emptiness you don't know how to fill. But what if the noise wasn't saving you, but killing you slowly? What if God has been trying to speak to you in the only place you refuse to go, the silence? This has a name. It's called experiential avoidance. And it's not about noise. It's about escape. Escape from yourself. Escape from your own life. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, said something that cuts like a blade. The greatest human suffering is not pain, it's the lack of meaning. And you know what lack of meaning brings? Emptiness. An emptiness so deep, you'd rather have anything, literally anything, than feel it. So you fill it with noise, with distraction, with movement, with anything that stops you from pausing and asking, why am I here? What does all this mean? Because that question burns, and you don't have an answer, or worse, you're afraid of the answer. Frankl taught that only in silence do we find meaning. But you learned the opposite. You learned that silence is abandonment, that pause is danger, that being alone with your thoughts is putting yourself at risk. Maybe in childhood, maybe in that empty room where no one came to comfort you. Maybe in that silent house where silence meant no one cared. You associated silence with pain and noise with safety. But now the noise has become a prison. You can't turn it off anymore. You can't stop anymore. You can't feel anymore. And that scares you, but also relieves you. Because feeling is risky. Feeling is remembering. Feeling is facing everything you swept under the rug. The hurts, the regrets, the choices, the losses, everything you swore to forget. But that stays alive inside you, waiting for the moment the noise stops. And you know this. That's why you don't stop. That's why you don't turn it off. That's why you don't stay alone. Because deep down, you know, if the noise stops, you'll have to face the truth. And the truth is, you've been running so long you forgot what it's like to truly live. You think you're in control, that the noise is a choice, that you can stop whenever you want, but you can't. You've tried. You tried to stay in silence. You tried to turn everything off. You tried to just breathe. And in less than 2 minutes, the anxiety rose. Your chest tightened. Your hands sweated. And you turned something on, anything, because the silence brought something you weren't ready to face. You call it a preference, but it's dependency. Emotional dependency on noise, on constant stimulation, on permanent escape. You're not living. You're avoiding dying inside, and there's a brutal difference between the two. Living is feeling, it's facing, it's processing, it's crying when you need to cry, it's remembering when you need to remember, it's making peace with the past. But you don't want to make peace, you want to forget. And the noise promised you that, forgetting, but it lied, because you didn't forget. You just postponed the pain, postponed the healing, postponed the meeting with yourself. And now, years later, you realize the noise didn't save you. It imprisoned you. It kept you on the surface of life, far from depth, far from meaning, far from God. Because God doesn't shout, He whispers, and you can't hear Him in the midst of the chaos you created. You thought the noise protected you, but it only isolated you from yourself, from God, from the life you should be living. And now you feel it, the exhaustion of running, the exhaustion of filling, the exhaustion of never stopping. You're exhausted, and you didn't even notice that the escape itself is what drains you. If you made it this far, it's because something inside you recognized this pain. You're not alone in this escape, and maybe it's time to stop running. This channel exists to show you what psychology explains and what God is trying to teach you in the midst of chaos. Every video is a door for you to understand why you suffer, for you to find meaning in what seems empty, for you to finally hear the voice that the noise drowned out. Click the button right now and subscribe, because healing begins when you stop avoiding and start facing. God never abandoned you in the silence. He was always there, waiting for you to stop running, waiting for you to finally listen, because God doesn't compete with noise. He doesn't shout, he doesn't force, he whispers, and you know this. You felt it, that rare moment when everything went quiet and something inside you calmed down, but you were afraid that if you stayed there, you'd have to face everything you avoided, so you turned something on and lost the moment. The Bible tells the story of Elijah, a desperate prophet running, exhausted, wanting to give up. God finds him in a cave, and there's an earthquake, then fire. But God wasn't in the earthquake, nor in the fire. He was in the gentle whisper, in the whisper that only those who stop can hear. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face. 1 Kings 19:12. God is not in the noise, he's in the silence. And while you avoid the silence, you avoid him. You avoid the direction you're searching for. You avoid the answers you desperately need. You avoid the healing that's waiting for you. The Bible also says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Proverbs 3:5-6. But how will he make your paths straight if you don't stop to listen to him? How will he guide you if you don't silence yourself? How will he heal you if you don't feel? The noise is not protection, it's resistance. Resistance to God's plan, resistance to transformation, resistance to the truth that sets you free. You think you're running from pain, but you're running from healing, because healing begins in silence, in the place where you finally stop filling, stop avoiding, stop pretending, and let God find you. He never left you. You just couldn't stay quiet long enough to realize he was always there. If this message is touching something in you, subscribe to this channel now. And in the comments, write just, "I choose to listen." This phrase isn't just for me, it's a commitment between you, God, and yourself. Now you know the noise is escape. You know God speaks in silence, but knowing isn't enough. You need to act. And the first action is simple, but it will hurt. You need to create a daily encounter with silence. It's not meditation. It's not a technique. It's surrender. It can be in the morning before the chaos begins. It can be at night when everything slows down. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no TV, no podcast, nothing. Just you, just God, just the silence. And breathe. At first, it will be unbearable. The anxiety will rise. The thoughts will invade. The memories will burn. Let them come. Let them hurt. Because you spent years running. And now you're coming back home, coming back to yourself, coming back to God. And as you breathe, pray. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be structured. Just speak. God, I don't know what to do with everything I feel, but I'm here, I'm stopping, I'm listening, and let him answer, not with audible words, but with peace, with clarity, with the feeling that, for the first time in a long time, you're not alone, because you never were. You were just too busy to notice. Do this every day, 5 minutes, then 10, then as long as necessary, until silence stops being a threat and becomes a refuge until you realize the noise protected you from fear, but silence leads you to healing. Now, if you got distracted, come back here with me and pay close attention to this, because what comes next can change everything for you. The second action is harder, because it's not about silence, it's about truth. You need to name what you're avoiding. Write it down, get paper and pen, not your phone, not your computer, and write by hand. Because writing by hand forces you to slow down, forces you to feel each word, forces you to face it. Write at the top of the page, what am I avoiding feeling? And let it out. No filter, no judgment, no fear. Maybe it's the hurt from someone who abandoned you. Maybe it's the guilt from someone you hurt. Maybe it's the regret from choices you can't undo. Maybe it's the grief from something you lost and never processed. Maybe it's the fear of discovering you wasted years running. Write it all. And then write another question. What is God trying to teach me in this? Because every pain has purpose, every emptiness has meaning, every wound has healing, but you only discover it when you stop avoiding and start facing. Frankl said that the meaning of life is not in avoiding suffering, it's in finding purpose in it. And God has already given you the answer. It's written, "Oh, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Proverbs 3:5. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to trust. Trust that God didn't leave you in emptiness to destroy you, but to rebuild you, not to break you, but to shape you, not to silence you, but to teach you to listen. After writing, don't reread it immediately. Let the paper rest and come back the next day. Come back with prayer. Come back asking God to show you what you couldn't see alone, and He will show you, because He always does. When you finally stop running and start facing, this is the second action, honest confrontation with yourself, with God, with the truth that sets you free. You wake up, and for the first time in a long time, you don't reach for your phone. You breathe and realize silence doesn't kill you. It calms you. You close your eyes. And instead of running, you pray, "God, I'm here, finally." And something shifts. It's not magic. It's not instant, but it's real. You realize the noise was never protection. It was prison. And silence was never abandonment. It was invitation. Invitation to come back, to feel, to heal, to hear the voice that was always there, whispering, waiting, calling you back home. You look back and see the years of running, the years filling emptiness with noise, the years avoiding feeling, avoiding remembering, avoiding living. But now you understand. You understand that God never abandoned you in the silence. He waited for you with infinite patience, with unshakable love, with the promise that when you finally stopped, He would be there. And He is. You feel it, in the peace that descends, in the clarity that comes, in the purpose that finally makes sense. You didn't need more noise. You needed less. You needed to stop. You needed to listen. You needed to trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Proverbs 3:5. And you trust. For the first time, you trust. Not because you understand everything, but because you finally stop trying to control everything. You don't need to fill every second anymore. You can breathe. You can feel. You can live. The noise promised to save you. But silence set you free. And now, when the world around you screams, you don't get lost anymore, because you learn to hear the voice that matters, the gentle whisper, the voice that always knew your name, the voice that never left you. You were afraid of silence. Now you understand. Silence is where God has always been, waiting for you to come back home. If this message made sense to you, subscribe to our channel. Here, every story reveals why you suffer and what God is trying to teach you in it. Psychology to understand yourself, spirituality to understand the why behind it. And for you who made it to the end of this video, you who didn't give up, you who faced every word, leave in the comments just this: I hear. This isn't just a phrase, it's a declaration, a promise between you and God. And I prophesy over you, by declaring this, God will show you in the coming days something you've needed to hear for a long time, an answer, a direction, a healing. He is speaking, and now you are listening.